Let's be honest, when it comes to AI, we are all swimming in a sea of hype. We hear these incredible claims of superhuman performance all the time. But how do we really know if an AI is ready for the real world? Today, we're going to cut through that noise and take a hard look at a major new way of measuring AI's economic value. And it's all based on some fascinating new research. Okay, let's get into it. It all starts with this one simple number, 100x. This is the figure that's been grabbing all the headlines, shaping conversations in boardrooms, you name it. It's powerful, it's memorable, and it sounds incredible. But what does it actually mean? Well, here's the source. This is the headline claim from OpenAI's new evaluation framework. And think about what it's saying, that AI isn't just a little better, it's orders of magnitude more efficient than human experts. It's a statement that suggests we are right on the edge of a massive, massive disruption. And it's all built on a brand new yardstick for AI. And that yardstick is something called GDP Val. This is OpenAI's big attempt to move past all those abstract academic benchmarks and create a score that they say directly measures an AI's real-world economic value. So, what is GDP Val exactly? Well, think of it as a huge test. It's a framework designed to throw tasks at an AI from dozens of different jobs. You're talking law, healthcare, the whole shebang. And the goal is to see how well it performs on work that actually contributes to the gross domestic product, or GDP. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a huge step forward, right? Finally, a way to know if an AI can do a real job, not just pass some exam. And that's the appeal, isn't it? A single, clear number to help make these massive decisions about automation and work. It promises to tell you if an AI is ready to be hired. But the central question this research paper asks is, while it's a simple score, is it the right one? Does it really tell us the whole story? Well, as it turns out, when you start to look a little closer, some pretty serious cracks start to show up in this whole framework. The paper we're digging into today points out 4 fundamental flaws that really challenge the very foundation of what GDP Val is claiming. So we're going to walk through each one of these. First up, what they call the GDP fallacy. Second, this huge gap between sterile lab conditions and messy reality. Third, what they call the hidden cost illusion. And finally, and this one's a biggie, the problem of biased and frankly unreliable grading.
Okay, so the first major flaw is the GDP fallacy. GDP Val makes this enormous assumption that a job's economic value, its contribution to GDP, is basically the same thing as how complex that job is. But here's the thing. Economists have been warning for decades that that's just not true. Economic output simply does not equal work complexity.
The paper uses this fantastic analogy to explain it. Professional work is like an iceberg. GDVL is great, absolutely great at measuring the part you can see, the tip of the iceberg. That's the final report, the line of code, the marketing email, but it completely misses the enormous, hidden part of the iceberg submerged below the water. You know, the difficult negotiation with a client, mentoring a junior colleague, navigating a sudden crisis, making a tough ethical call. That stuff is where so much of the real value in professional work actually lives. Then we have the second flaw, the sterile environment. GDP Val tests AI on these one-shot tasks. It gives the AI a prompt, it spits out an answer, and you grade it. Done. But is that how work actually happens? Of course not. Real knowledge work is messy, it's iterative, it's a conversation. It's packed with feedback and clarifications and course corrections. It's a whole process, not a single shot in the dark. Which leads us directly to flaw number 3, and this takes us right back to that headline claim. The paper argues that this whole 100x faster and cheaper idea is basically an illusion, one that's built by completely ignoring almost all of the real-world costs. I mean, think about it. An AI doesn't just show up and start working for free. You need human experts to oversee it, to check its work, to fix its inevitable mistakes. You have to redesign your entire workflow to even fit it in. You've got to train your people, manage the change, cover the liability for when it goes wrong, and deal with the ripple effects of its errors. None of these huge real costs are part of that 100x cheaper number. And the final flaw, this one might just be the most damning of all, because it calls the measurement itself into question. GDP eval depends on human experts to grade the AI's work, but how objective, how reliable is that grading really? The data here is pretty revealing, and this is from OpenAI's own numbers, by the way. The agreement between what a model thinks the grade should be and what a human thinks is only 66%. But here's the real kicker. Look at the bar on the right. The agreement between 2 different human experts grading the exact same piece of work is only 71%. That's a huge problem. I mean, if your expert judges can't even agree with each other almost a third of the time, how can you possibly have a reliable benchmark? So after deconstructing the benchmark, the paper doesn't just leave us hanging. It actually proposes a pretty fundamental shift in how we should even be thinking about the goal of AI, moving away from this idea of replacement and towards something much more powerful: collaboration.
This really gets to the heart of it, these two competing mindsets for AI. On one hand, you have the replacement mindset, which is what things like GDP Val encourage. It's all about automating tasks, replacing workers, and cutting costs. But on the other hand, you have the collaboration mindset, and this is about something totally different. It's about augmenting human skills, assisting professionals to do their jobs even better, and creating entirely new kinds of value that didn't exist before.
The key insight here is this idea of collaborative intelligence. What the research is showing time and time again is that the biggest breakthroughs don't happen when an AI replaces a human. They happen when a human and an AI work together as a team, achieving results that neither one of them could ever accomplish alone.
So if collaboration is the goal, then we need a totally different scorecard, right? We need one that actually measures what truly matters in a human-AI team. And the paper proposes exactly that.
Instead of a single misleading score, this new scorecard looks at things like trust calibration. In other words, does the human partner know when the AI is wrong and when to step in? It looks at error recovery. How well does the team fix mistakes? It looks at context retention, a full accounting of all those integration costs we talked about, and, crucially, safety and ethical compliance. These are metrics for a partnership, not for a race.
And this is really why this matters so much. Adopting this kind of measurement framework helps leaders make much smarter decisions. It allows them to separate the marketing hype of 100x cheaper from the on-the-ground reality of what is safe, what is valuable, and what is actually ready to be deployed in their organizations.
Ultimately, this whole analysis pushes us to reframe the entire conversation. The question we've all been asking about AI and the future of work, it might just be the wrong question altogether.
So the ultimate takeaway is this. We've been asking, can AI do this job? But maybe that's not the point. The much better question, the much more important question, is how can AI and humans working together build better systems? Systems that are more resilient, more ethical, and ultimately more economically sound for everyone involved. That is the question that moves us beyond the hype and toward real, lasting progress.